welcome to the Integrate This EdTech podcast. We're continuing our Tech in 10 series on Notebook LM. And so far, we've covered the overview. We did some stuff with audio and video. Today, we're going to look at mind maps and reports and see what different things you can do with those. So to start us off here, we'll throw this up and you have the create new notebook, which we've been doing for these where we're going to basically be pulling from Google Drive for these examples. But keep in mind, I mean, you could do other options too. You can upload from your computer, paste links in, all sorts of stuff. For this first one, we're going to just look at mind maps, and I've got some things already loaded in here where for this mind map, we're going to take a curriculum guide, a pacing guide, and an assessment rubric and create a mind map for that for organizing a unit. So we're going to go ahead and click on each of these, and we're going to insert those into our source bank over here. And then as we did show in the previous episode, there's this ability to navigate the different pieces that are part of your sources. So viewing those directly in here, which is great. So this one, just to go through again, we have a curriculum guide where we've got this unit overview for this life science 7th grade unit on ecosystems and interdependence. And so there are some Minnesota State science standards that are already built into here. And you've got like understandings, essential questions, key vocabulary, different pieces to this unit as part of the curriculum guide. Then you have a pacing guide, which is going to have things like key learning activities, formative checks, resources, but these are centered around that unit. And then you have an assessment rubric as well as part of this. And so we're pulling these different pieces in so that we can go over to our studio. And on the right-hand side, we haven't, there's been nothing created for this in our studio yet. And so we'll go ahead and click on the mind map. And you can see here too, this is going to do this with anything that you're creating in the studio. It does give you the amount of sources that it's based on. So keep in mind too, as you create things, you can click off of sources. So I would say that that's helpful if you trying to do something specific. Like, let's say that I just wanted the mind map on the curriculum guide by itself. You have the power to do that. You can just click on and off, toggle these, and then whatever you create is going to be based on that indicator if the checkbox is full or not. But once it's created, then what we can do is we have our mind map loaded up here in our studio. If I click on it, this is where it's kind of cool, where you're now within this working space, and the mind map has been created based on what I identified as my sources. You can kind of move around with this. You can drag across the screen, which you will have to do as you open these pieces up because it will start to expand, right, with the mind map. You can expand all nodes. We'll hold off on that for just a moment. The other thing you can do is zoom out and zoom in. So as you do start to expand those, you'll be able to kind of navigate that, and you have a lot of flexibility there with what you can do. So you can download it, and what'll happen is it will basically make it a PNG and create an image for you of that mind map. So then if you wanted to use the image of this, which is essentially what it'll be, you could always put that into like a PowerPoint, slideshow, whatever you want, so people can see that mind map, as an image. Then really what this is we're getting into just expanding these different pieces. So if we're talking about this ecosystems and interdependence unit for grade 7, then we can start to look at, okay, unit scope and context. What pieces are part of that unit scope? We know that when we looked at the curriculum guide, we pulled it up on the left-hand side. This is where that's drawing from. So you got your subject and your grade here. You've got the unit overview focus. We've got our understandings. We've got our essential questions. And this again, right? This is where we can check here, look at the match with our essential questions on this side, right? How does energy move? What relationships help ecosystems thrive, right? So you're just kind of looking at the same thing in its raw text form versus the mind map. So then we can go back in here and we want to close that up and let's take a look at the standards, right? We know there was 3 standards that were identified. They're all found here. And one of the things that's cool about this is the ability to click on any of the nodes that are in there and bring it into chat and then have more conversations around that. Um, the standard is going to be set. Still, you could bring it in, and there's some things you could do with that. But maybe what would be more beneficial is playing around with something like the key vocabulary. We could say, ecosystem, right? Do something like that where this is explained a bit further, and you could have a conversation with it here. The other thing you could do is you could save it to note right here. You could add it to as a source on this side. And then maybe what we even do with that is, being it's a big piece of our vocabulary, is now that we've got some more information on ecosystem, which is a key vocab word in our mind map, maybe we create some flashcards on that and a few others, or maybe you create a study guide on that if it's something that you want to dive a little bit deeper into. um, so this gives you the ability to not only create the mind map as you saw it here, but then the individual pieces are something that you can continue working with and dive deeper into these. So then you can create new products off of them with what's available in Notebook LM. You can make tweaks to them, within your chat. You could say, I want to include, maybe it's a different type of assessment or a different pacing guide, something like that. You could do all those changes there. Okay. The other thing that I want to take a look at with you is the reports. So let's just stay within our ecosystem and interdependence curriculum guide here. And let's just go, we'll refresh our chat, kind of start from scratch. We'll leave these in, but the other thing you can do is you can include reports into this. And as far as student content goes, probably one of the most beneficial things right away that you'll find under format is the study guide. You could generate study guides off of any unit materials that you have that you could give to your students. And one of the probably the most important thing to point out to you is that when you're working with reports, no matter what notebook you're in, you'll notice that the top row will stay the same. These are like the kind of, I don't want to call them, I guess, generic, but these are the ones that are there consistently, and they'll be at the top, where you've got create your own, you've got briefing doc, study guide, and blog post, those different options. What I like a lot is there's this row called suggested format, and these are actually dependent upon reading your sources. So just like let's say you put in this unit 1, right? The suggested formats that will come up, you're seeing here things like curriculum framework, unit plan, concept explanation, project overview. Those are all things that you can grab and start to create within this area. But then, like, let's say we go over to our like superintendent's weekly leadership memo, right? Well, when I do reports for that, you're going to see it's processing that in the loading suggestions spot, right? Everything on the top remains the same. Then look at this. You have suggested format, executive summary, strategic plan. Concept explainer is still there. That was one that was similar to the unit planning. And then you have a topical outline. So this is something that you're you're going to be able to access different items based on what you're putting in as your sources because it's processing all of that. Okay, so now then you can see on this, our report is loaded and you have this curriculum framework. You'll go through and you can, check out that report. Um, but there's so many different things you can create off of these reports. You'll also notice that at the top you have show prompt, which is kind of interesting because then you can look at what was the prompt that created this. And then you could even copy and you could share that to others if you want to, that's looking to do something similar. You can copy the content and it'll keep the same formatting. And so when you bring that over to like Google Docs or things like that, it should read the headings and different things that are in there. And then you could delete it too. But I think probably right away for teachers, the thing I think that is probably the most beneficial when it comes to the reports is going to be things like the study guide, where you're feeding it that unit content and then you're getting a study guide and then you can just kind of evaluate the study guide, go through, make sure that it matches the things that you've been talking about in your unit, and then give that out to your students and save yourself some time from creating a study guide from scratch. um, and then you're able to have a lot of flexibility with some of the other ways or areas you might dive into. Maybe it's a project guide or something like that where now you're moving into where the students are going to be creating a project and this is going to generate a project outline for you. So definitely check out the reports, tons of different things you can do there. The mind mapping, particularly being able to click on the different elements and have further conversation and generate new things off of the mind map pieces. I think that can get easily missed when you're just creating a mind map, and it's great to look at and expand everything. But don't stop there. You can go further with that and create new things. So that wraps up our mind maps and our reports. And then next, our video is going to be that releases next is going to be Jeremy tackling flashcards and quizzes.